Hello everybody and welcome to Level 5. Of course, I'm your host, Level 5, and on this channel we talk all things movies, TV shows, video games, and comic books. And welcome to our very first comic book review. I'm going to be doing these issue by issue. At the moment, I'll tackle some of the bigger collective storyline comic books in a later date, but for now, I just want to focus on some of these smaller issues. And this particular comic book that we'll be reviewing today has actually been voted on by our Discord server. I'll leave a link down below in the description with an invite to our Discord server. But yeah, there was a poll on 2 different comic books, and today's video was one of the options. So you can thank our Discord server for this particular comic book review, and I'm really happy it was our first one. I really enjoyed this comic book. Now, with that being said, I do apologize about the main overall explanation of the story plot here when it comes to the video. More of the editing. This is the first time I've ever edited anything like this. I'm usually used to actually having video footage to show, so I apologize if anything looks a bit jarring, janky, or anything. Very first time I've ever edited anything like this. With that being said, though, we're reviewing a crossover comic book series, starting off with issue 1, of course, and that, of course, being DC X Sonic the Hedgehog. An interesting collaboration, but a fun one at that. Of course, we have the big superheroes of DC being Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and more, and then Sonic and his team of friends are in this comic book as well. It's a fun idea, and of course, we'll dive into the issue in just a moment. If you guys want to see issue 2, then do, of course, let me know in the comments down below if you wish to see issue 2 being reviewed. This series only has a handful of issues, and I'm happy to review all of them later down the line, but I need you guys to let me know if you want me to review issue 2. So, let's dive in with our review of DC X Sonic the Hedgehog issue 1.
Sonic the Hedgehog and DC, their crossover will be epic.
We start in Sonic's dimension, where a planet-looking thing resembling Darkseid's big head kind of enters through a portal, the Omega symbol planted right on it as well. Sonic, Amy, and Tails note that it isn't Eggman, and suddenly parademons come swooping in. Sonic rolls into them whilst Amy swings her hammer, and they rain down through portals, constantly coming through. Sonic decides to flee, saying they don't look like they're stopping, and they quickly speed off. The planet moves to Angel Island, where Knuckles defending the Master Emerald from parademons. We get a glimpse of Darkseid and Desaad here in his big spaceship thing, and of course Desaad's his minion. Desaad stating that it'll take a lot of power to do what is being asked, and Darkseid basically tells him to shut the hell up. The planet's eyes shoot a massive beam after charging up and blows up the island, with Knuckles still on it. Back with Sonic, they see Sunset City is swarmed with parademons, and Sonic drops Tails and Amy down and goes on ahead, at full speed. Someone appears next to him, a man running as fast as he does. The Scarlet Speeder himself, the Flash. Flash tells him to hang back while he deals with the parademons, and Sonic says that that's adorable and he can help out if he wants. They both pick up speed, taking turns to overtake each other. It's actually a really fun scene, and it makes perfect sense. We cut to Silver the Hedgehog using his powers to take out parademons. John Stewart, the Green Lantern, shows up and tells Silver to group them together so he can take them all out. They exchange words real quickly, Silver asking if John is psychic as well. John saying no, that he has a limited issue alien piece of technology. He then asks Silver if he's a metahuman or an alien, and Silver just quickly replies with nope, just a hedgehog, which is absolutely amazing. We see a civilian running away with her offspring, and a parademon in pursuit. Shadow comes in, smacking the back of it, whilst Batman comes in with a knee in the face at the same time. Batman and Shadow don't exchange a word, just a quick glance. That is all. No words at all. Just before they go running off, going to save other people. Amy and Tails, now in the city, state how terrible the damage has gotten when suddenly a massive red robot walks in. Tails and Amy start giving it the beatdown when suddenly a golden lasso wraps around its neck and a big red laser blast hits its chest, revealing Wonder Woman and Cyborg, Wonder Woman asking for their aid. Next up, we see Calabac roaring at Wonder Woman, claiming that he'll be victorious. Knuckles appears and lands an almighty punch, sending him crashing. Then, just before Knuckles can proclaim that, that was for blasting his island to bits and out of the sky, Superman lands on Calabac, looking like the coolest dude ever, and Superman and Knuckles exchange words, calling each other by name. Superman apologizing as Knuckles says he wasn't done with Calabac yet. Our two teams gather up, Knuckles explaining that he would have been toast if it wasn't for Superman saving him from the blast on Angel Island. Then they introduce themselves. Superman introduces each member of the Justice League, and then Sonic introduces each member of his team too. Cyborg projects several holograms showing off Darkseid, and his planet-looking satellite called Ragnarok. Not Ragnarok as in Norse mythology, it's Ragnar Space Rock, but you get the whole theme and idea there. Cyborg also states that Darkseid has been looking for power outside of their dimension, throughout their multiverse. So that he's planning on leaving the multiverse to look for alternative abilities, and that led them to Sonic's dimension. And he ends up in Sonic's dimension, and he's obviously looking for higher power. Using his tech, he was able to track down Darkseid and open up a boom tube, hoping to stop Darkseid. Silver barks up, stating that he must be after the Chaos Emeralds. The Justice League state that they should work together, but Shadow wants nothing to do with it, calling it a complete waste of time, and he storms off. Batman tells the group to don't worry, he'll talk to him, and he follows, asking Shadow who did he lose. Shadow's stunned, and they exchange their backstories a little bit, filled with loss and, trauma. Batman tells Shadow that he is valuable in stopping Darkseid. Shadow agrees to work with them, saying they'd better be worth the trouble. We cut back to the two teams. Cyborg and Tails agree to work on the detector, which would help them in the long run, whilst the rest go off in pairs to cover more ground. We then get each character from Sonic and each character from the Justice League teaming up with each other. Knuckles teams up with Superman, Amy with Wonder Woman, Shadow and Batman team up, Silver and Jon Stewart, and of course our two speedsters stick together as well with Sonic and the Flash. Our issue comes to an end with the Flash and Sonic running across water heading to an island, and when they get there, they run into Darkseid himself. Honestly, this issue isn't bad at all. I really enjoyed it. It's straight into the action, with the very first page literally just having Darkseid appear. We do see Sonic, Tails, and Amy kind of at a picnic looking thing, but there's no build up to this at all. It's just instantly Darkseid shows up, and it's really, really cool. This is also known as Chaos Crisis Part 1, by the way, which is a nice play on words here. Chaos is a big word in the Sonic lore with the Chaos Emeralds, and Crisis is a word very heavily used in a lot of the DC's massive, crossover events. Crisis on Infinite Earth, Crisis on Earth 2, etc., etc., so it works really well. I feel like the characters are really well represented here too. Sonic is just as quippy and, overdramatic as he normally is, being the guy who kind of has to gain all the attention. Amy is just as loyal to Sonic and kind of worrisome. Knuckles, obviously throwing fists first. Silver is all about defending the time because he's from the future, and Shadow is just as broody. Now, the Justice League don't get as much attention in this particular issue, but I feel like they're actually really well done too. I love the facial expression Flash pulls off when he first sees Sonic. I think that's really, really cool. And then instantly they just start quipping at each other. And obviously we do get them both trying to outmatch each other in speed, which is really nice to see. My biggest criticism here, though, is some of the Justice League designs. They're drawn in Sonic the Hedgehog's art style. I'm not saying they're bad, but they just look a bit odd. Not everyone. I think Superman and Batman and the Flash look fine, but it's more Jon Stewart and Wonder Woman. And it's only certain times as well. Jon Stewart's very first appearance in this is the very first panel he's in. That's where he looks weird. But as you go through the issue, especially when Superman's introducing each and every character, that's when he looks fine. I think Superman actually looks a bit young in this. I think he looks like I don't know, if I had to age him, 19, maybe 20, which is strange because he's part of the Justice League. Batman, of course, looks like Batman and looks great. Cyborg actually looks really shiny in this, always having light reflecting on him and stuff. It actually is some of the best I think Cyborg looked in a long time. I think it's done really well. With that being said, now when it comes to Darkseid, we don't really have any idea what's going on here yet. This is only obviously issue 1. They think he's after the Chaos Emeralds, but it's not actually stated by Darkseid what he's after. However, in the last panel that we do see Darkseid with a hologram of the Chaos Emeralds, so I'm assuming that's exactly what he's after, and they nailed it, which I kind of like the fact that there's no build-up here. We're straight into the action. We're straight into Sonic, Tails, and Amy getting involved with the fight of the parademons, and then we're straight into introducing each and every Justice League member, teaming up with a character. They instantly, there's no fighting between them or anything, and it's instantly teaming up and dealing with the scenario. Sure, I understand that this is only a 5-issue long run, and, they don't have a lot of time, obviously, to explain a lot of stuff or have any major conflict and stuff, and I have not read the rest of the issues yet as of recording this video. I'm going straight in here blind. But I kind of like the fact there's no build-up. I like the fact we're getting just straight into the nitty-gritty of a crossover, and that's absolutely awesome. Sure, in a TV format, or a movie format, this type of thing could really kind of impact the story in a bad way. And there's definitely crossover episodes out there in, media, which is hey, this is a really cool crossover, a really cool fight, but I kind of want to see our characters interact more. But in this, it just worked really well. Now, just before we dive into the next segment of our review, I just want to talk about our team-up pairings, because honestly, they're not too bad. So, obviously, the girl has to go with the girl, so Amy and Wonder Woman get paired up, and I think that's the lamest one. Just because they're girls doesn't mean you have to pair them up. But I do also kind of like it because Wonder Woman obviously has her lasso, her bracelets, her sword, and her shield. Very, not modern day weapons, but she's the weapon user. So giving Amy to Wonder Woman makes sense because she's the weapon user. Knuckles and Superman also make a lot of sense. They're both heavy hitters and super strong. That's really cool. Now, Shadow and Batman is also kind of a gimmick because they're both the broody characters, but I think it works really well here. There's a nice shot of them both riding on motorcycles, which is really cool. And I also like the fact that they did pay a little bit of attention to Shadow's backstory and Batman's backstory, because more or less they have a lot more in common than most of the other characters do. So they actually really paid attention to that and gave them their own, just a couple of panels of them talking about, their backstory and how they lost someone. I think it's really nice that Batman actually had the chance to kind of boost someone up instead of tearing them down because of the trauma. Obviously, it's Batman. He's the whole thing of being the symbol of fear and everything. So the fact that he's trying to, encourage someone to fight for good and everything, it's just nice to see. Silver and John, I think, are the two that make no sense because one's psychic and one has technology. But I guess if you've only got 2 characters left, you're just going to pair them up. Cyborg and Tails obviously do make sense too, being the 2 technical tech heads, so they're the ones that work on a detector. And yeah, I like this pairing too. There's a nice little joke in the comic book where Tails says to Cyborg that he's working on some form of arc beam thing, like an arc cannon, and Cyborg's well, I can help you, but it requires you losing a lot of your flesh. And Tails nah, I'm good. It's quite funny. And then of course, our last but not least, we have the main character in Sonic himself. He's the speedster character, and honestly, I thought he'd team up with Superman, because Superman's obviously the leader of the Justice League. Kinda. No, he gets teamed with Flash, and yes, that is very on the nose, and it's literally just a speedster with a speedster, but I like the fact they did that. You would think that Sonic being the leader of his team, Sonic would go with the leader of the Justice League, so that'd be Superman or Batman. But no, they more went down the really obvious on-the-nose routes. Tech head with tech head, woman with woman, broody dark character, broody dark character, super strong character, super strong character, super fast character, super fast character. So that means we're stuck with Sonic and Flash. But I really like the way these two talk. I love the fact that, I'm assuming it's Barry, because he's not called Barry by any point, he's just called the Flash. But I'm just going to assume it's Barry Allen here. I could be wrong, but I do love the fact that Barry kind of just is, just petty in the sense where he's like, hey, I'm gonna outrun you. It's great. I absolutely love the little bits of comedy here. The art style is great too. It's very colourful. The parademons look so good in this. Oh my god, they're so well designed, and their colour palette really match well with the Sonic art style. The Flash looks great when he's running as well. He does match the Flash. I do like the fact that they kept the lightning off him as well, because obviously he runs with like, the Speed Force, is like lightning trailing off him and stuff. Love the facial expressions the Flash is pulling off when he sees Sonic just speed the hell up as well. And also, they're not afraid to use the Sonic, cliche sort of art techniques that they've done to represent their abilities, even though they're teaming up with humans. Especially when Sonic runs and his feet do the whole, circular Infinity 8 motion, and that's, their way to represent him going stupidly fast. Love that. Flash's expression is beautiful. Anyway, with that being said, let's dive into our review section on this issue.
Sonic the Hedgehog and DC, their crossover will be epic.
Okie dokie then, let's get into the actual ranking. So for plot, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Yeah, okay, I do really enjoy what they're doing here. There's not a lot of build-up or anything, but that, to me, is a good thing. But there isn't a lot of really story build-up here in this issue. It's mostly just kicking some ass and then figuring out what Darkseid's up to. There's not a lot of story plot, and most of it happens in the last couple of pages. So, yeah, at the minute, it's only going to get a 3. Maybe later issues it'll boost up as the story goes on, but at the moment we're sticking to a 3 out of 5. For our characters, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Honestly, I really enjoyed how these characters were. They definitely seemed up to par with those characters. Shadow is just as moody as you expect him to be, which works with the moodiness of Batman. Superman is just as delightful as he normally is. Tails is a bit of a, geeky gearhead. And of course, we have Sonic being his charismatic, egotistical, sarcastic self, which really works well with the Flash. I love the dynamics of these characters, the way they work together and everything is just absolutely beautiful. So with that being said, I have to give it a 5. I just have to. They work so well. I think the only character that I didn't really care about is Desaad, because even Darkseid seems all doom and gloom like he normally is. So yeah, I've got to give it a 5 out of 5. So we're going to change the visuals here. It's still going to be visuals. We're just going to change the name to art style because we're in a comic book. So for art style, I'm going to give it a 3. Mostly it loses 2 points just because, like I said, some of the characters just seem a bit weird looking. And it's not all the time either. There's definitely panels in this comic book where Cyborg looks perfectly fine. So does Jon Stewart. So does Wonder Woman. Because they're matching the Sonic art style here, just some panels, they just look a bit off. And that includes Darkseid, their Ragnarok satellite planet-looking thing. Even the Parademons. There are panels here where they look phenomenal. But there's also panels where they look really weird and janky. It's very mixed match. It's very jarring at times, and it's a shame that I have to kind of minus 2 points because of it. Entertainment wise, I'm going to give it a 4. It just loses that little bit because it is all action, and like I said, all of the main story driven stuff is at the end. Don't get me wrong, I stand by what I say. I'm glad that it's instantly into the crossover. There's no build up, we don't have several pages of just Sonic and his friends. It's instantly in with Darkseid, the Ragnarok satellite, and the Parademons, and I'm really happy about that. But all the story fun stuff kind of happens at the end. Shadow and Batman having their moment together, Tails and Cyborg getting to be a bit tech heads, and then them teaming up, which we don't even see what happens with them teaming up because it just goes straight into the kind of end bit where Darkseid's there, and it's kind of our tease for the next issue. So I'm not saying that's bad at all. Not saying that's bad at all, but it just loses that 1 point because all the fun stuff is right at the end, and I wish that kind of carried on through. Not saying I didn't enjoy the first half, but I'm just saying the last half is a lot better. And sure, comic books should be like that sometimes, but when you got a crossover like DC, the Justice League, and Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm expecting just a little bit more. So yeah, overall, that's a ranking of 15 out of 20. And honestly, for the very first issue of a crossover, that could be an absolute waste of time. But also, at the same time, on the flip head of that coin, it could be phenomenal. It's a very 50-50 margin here. You're walking on very dangerous territories. It's a really good start to the crossover, and it's a small crossover too. So let's hope that the future issues do really hold up. But a 15 out of 20 for the very first issue of a crossover comic works really, really well, and I'm really happy with the overall ranking. Let's dive in with my final thoughts.
Sonic the Hedgehog and DC, their crossover will be epic.
Okay, so I haven't really spoken about the front cover here, but you have seen it in the video. The first, the front cover of the issue, I think it's really, really cool seeing all the characters like on the page and everything. You definitely get a bit of everybody as well, like the main kind of like cast of the comic, and I think it looks really cool. I'm glad that like there's no one specific character that's like here on the screen, like right here on the page. Let's say screen, then right there on the page, just like dominating the front cover. It's not. It's every. This is a really good crossover issue. I had fun with it. That's the best part of it. It's fun. It is, like I said, I'm very 50-50 on the the plot drive, because it gets straight into the action, which I love. I love that. There's no dilly-dallying or anything. And how the Justice League get into Sonic's dimension is through dialogue, which is great. You don't need to see it. But then all the fun story stuff kind of just ends the issue. Again, that's what we get for kind of breaking down each issue by issue. It's a fun time. If you really like Sonic the Hedgehog and you like the Justice League and DC, then this is definitely a crossover for you. Even if you don't like, you're not really well known, like your knowledge isn't really in one or the other, I think you're still going to enjoy this. This is more lent towards the Sonic fans, I think, but I still had a fun time with it. Now, of course, with that being said, like I said in the beginning of this video, I will dive into issue 2 later on down the line if you guys wish so. Just let me know in the comments. And of course, join our Discord server for more polls where you guys can vote for future comic books. So, with that being said, I keep saying that being said in all my notice this. Oh dear. I truly believe this is a good little take on DC with crossovers. Not everything needs to be explained, or if it does be explained, it can just be in quick dialogue, like with Cyborg explaining how they turned up. And I like it when Marvel and DC do these things. It definitely seems like DC's more willing to do it than Marvel is, and it's a really, really fun time. I really hope you guys do check out this comic book for yourself, and yeah, like I said, it's just, I like it when DC and Marvel take the risk of doing these fun little crossovers, and I think it's a good start to a very fun crossover, and I can't wait to see what else happens. So, thank you guys for watching this episode, this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Now, in my next comic book review, which will also be voted on by our Discord server, however, I can tell you exactly what the theme will be. It'll be one of the absolute trio in DC's Absolute Universe. It'll be Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, or Absolute Superman. It'll be issue 1 for one of those 3 characters. So, of course, join our Discord server, and when this video goes live, that poll will also go live, so you guys can join the Discord server and make sure you vote on that one. It'll be up for about a week as well. Should have plenty of time to dive in and check it out. Now, of course, with that being said, I do love you all. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you guys think of my comic book review-esque type videos. They're very similar to my TV and movie show ones, just with tiny moderate changes. Let me know how I did, and hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss another video from me, War of Passion, and I shall see you guys in the next